Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Liberty DeVitto, longtime drummer for Billy Joel, performs at the Fillmore in Silver Spring, Maryland this Saturday night for the annual Rock and Roll for Children concert to benefit the Children's Inn at NIH. I spoke to Liberty about his biggest Billy Joel hits, from You May Be Right to Uptown Girl and everything in between. Hey, Liberty DeVitto, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP in DC.
My pleasure.
Now we're talking because you are promoting the annual Rock and Roll for Children benefit. It's going to be on June 11th with a big concert. I think White Ford Broncos will be performing. It's going to be over at the Fillmore in Silver Spring. But of course, it's all to benefit the Children's Inn at NIH. How did you get involved with this? I guess John Belinkie calls you up, and the cause is really an offer you can't refuse.
Well, I met John at a rock and roll fantasy camp a bunch of years back, and I did the first one for John and did a couple of them after that. I mean, it's been running since 2004, so it's been around for a while. And so yeah, I love doing it. I'm also involved in a thing up here in New York called Little Kids Rock, giving instruments into schools where the music curriculum has been taken out. So I believe in children. I have a 5-year-old. I have older daughters too, and I love kids. And I believe in the healing of music. You know.
Yeah. Are you able to speak on the Children's Inn at all at NIH, the work they do? I know it's a place where, I guess that they can stay and families can stay while they're getting treatments, but are you able to speak on that at all?
Yeah, well, I've never been to it, the National Institute of Health. I didn't realize what NIH. I kept seeing NIH for a while there, and I thought, what is NIH? I looked it up.
It's been in the news a lot lately.
Yeah, and they keep saying NIH.
Yeah,
NIH. National Institution of Health. So it's a great thing. I mean, it's kind of like, I guess, Ronald McDonald House, but without the clown.
Right.
So it's pretty cool. Families get to stay with the children, and the kids get to be kids instead of patients.
Nice. And I know every year they get some big artists to come in, and we interview them every year. I think we've talked to Ricky Byrd, Little Steven Van Sant, yourself now. Yeah, they always round up a collection of different people that have played in all sorts of different famous bands. Will you actually be coming in and performing?
Yes, I'm coming in. Ricky Byrd's going to be there. And a bunch of other friends of ours, we'll be playing along with the White Bronco. It's funny, the White Bronco. I had a Bronco in 1974, and now Bronco has been re-released by Ford again. And every time I saw featuring White Bronco, I thought, oh, he's gonna have a raffle for a White Bronco. I want one.
Well, it's a local, it's a cover band, a 90s cover band, and obviously the name, of course, is about the biggest news story of the 90s, that O.J. Simpson White Ford Bronco. So that's there you go. That's the 90s. Right. There's the connection. But yeah, it's gonna be a great night of 90s tunes. But is it all gonna be 90s tunes, or is it gonna be all kinds of music? I'm sure.
Well, a lot of the stuff that we do, I guess You May Be Right came out in the 80s. I know I'm playing You May Be Right with the band. Ricky's going to do I Love Rock and Roll.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely some 80s stuff too.
Yeah. So it's going to jump around.
Awesome. Well, awesome. Well, without further ado, you mentioned You May Be Right, of course, the Billy Joel hit. You've played drums on so many of those Billy Joels. Like, it's almost like, close your eyes and pick a favorite Billy Joel song, and you're probably the drummer on it.
I think I played on 23 of his 24 top 40 hits.
23.
The only one I didn't play on was Piano Man.
Ah.
That was before me.
Right, exactly. But you lay claim to a ton of the other ones. I mean, we can go into a couple of them if we got time. But real quick, before that, just tell us about how I know you grew up in you were born in New York City and I guess around Brooklyn. But how did you actually first meet Billy Joel up and around that area?
I actually grew up on Long Island. I was born in Brooklyn.
Okay.
My father was a New York City cop, and he was stationed in Brooklyn, so he didn't want us to live here, so he moved us out to Long Island. But when I was like 17, I played in this club called the My House on Long Island. And I was in a band called the New Rock Workshop. Billy was in a band called the Hassles. And sometimes both bands played together. And I would watch Billy and he would watch me. So when it was time for us to get together, and he was coming back to New York, and he wanted a New York style drummer. Doug Stegmeyer, who was the musical director for Billy at the time, said, "Well, you know the guy, so we kind of knew each other by sight, but didn't know each other to hang out yet. But so he knew me already, and I knew him. So it's been a long relationship."
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'm just trying to double check. Like you said, Piano Man predated you, but I guess your first one you played on of his was the '76 album Turnstiles, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
that had Say Goodbye to Hollywood, New York State of Mind, like so many hits on that. But what was it like finally getting to do that first album with him? I guess it was, what was it? Maybe his fourth, I guess, but your first with him.
Yeah, my first with him. It was great. I mean, we did it on Long Island, and it was kind of a bomb, really. I think it sold like 50,000 copies.
Appreciated in hindsight.
Yeah. Well, the next album that came out, The Stranger, was the one that put him over the top.
The Stranger was massive, man. That was in what, 77, and that remind us that had Moving Out and Just the Way You Are,
Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, Only the Good Die Young.
She's Always a Woman to Me. Yeah, man. Yeah. Wow. Come on. That is an all-timer album. All right. Well, then speak to that one, I guess. That's probably more important to talk about.
Well, the Turnstiles had great songs on it. The only missing element during that album was the producer, Phil Ramone. I mean, now he had the band, because the playing is great on Turnstiles, just wasn't produced like when Phil came in on The Stranger. You could hear the production difference. And Columbia Records really got behind.
Of all those ones we mentioned on The Stranger, from a drumming perspective, what is the funnest one to do? I'm trying to think. What I guess it probably needs to be upbeat one. I guess Just the Way You Are, Scenes from Italian Restaurant are a little more mellow. But is it Only the Good Die Young, or
Scenes is good? Well, Only the Good Die Young is cool because I played with brushes in the studio.
You played with what in the studio?
Brushes. Instead of drumsticks, you play with brushes.
Wait, what? I'm not a drummer, but my wife is a musician. She'd appreciate that. But what do you mean by brushes?
Well, you ever hear a band and they're playing and you just hear the drummer like sliding? It sounds like
a scratching kind of, yeah.
Yeah, those are brushes. And so I played Only the Good Die Young is played with brushes.
Wow.
But Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, it goes through a lot of phases. The Brenda and Eddie part is fast.
That's true. It picks up. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I write about all the songs that I recorded with Billy and what my memory was in the studio in the book that I put out about a year and a half ago called Life, Billy, and the Pursuit of Happiness. And all the songs are in there. If anybody wants to know what it was like to record them.
Life, Billy, and the Pursuit of Happiness. And we can get that on Amazon or wherever, I guess, right?
Amazon, yeah. Audible has the audio book. I read it. Took 55 hours to read it.
Is that your way of saying you don't want to go through album by album in this interview? Just pick up the book?
Just pick up the book. Yeah, get the book. Billy wrote the foreword. It was the first time I actually heard how he appreciated what I did.
Right.
When you're in the business like we are, you're never told when you do something good. You're only told when you do something wrong.
Yeah.
Like, that really stunk, that part. Can you do something else?
Right. Absolutely. Well, yes, we will spare you and everyone going through the chronological journey. Pick up the book, everybody. But I guess just one final question on that front before we bring it back around to the benefit. Of all the songs after the ones we mentioned, is there anyone that is like particularly, like, is Uptown Girl really fun to play, or Big Shot, or I don't know, like what do you have a personal favorite that is every day on stage you'd be pissed if they cut it from your set list?
It's funny because I have a band now, Lords of 52nd Street. It's myself, Richie Canada, and Russell Chavez, who in Billy's original bands are recorded with him. Richie plays the saxophone. Just the Way You Are, and Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, Only Good Die Young, all that. And we do all the Billy stuff. We have a guy that sings the Billy's parts and plays piano. One of my favorite songs to play is Zanzibar, because there's a really fast jazz swing thing in there. That's on the 52nd Street album,
right?
Which is really cool. I like to play that song. It's a challenge.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. And yeah, I mean, and gosh, I mean, I don't want to give away my age, but I was more of the, the River of Dreams '90s era. So, and you played you played well, but all those, remember those three greatest hits came out around then too. And so that felt in a weird, I don't know how to explain it, in a weird way, that sort of felt like my music too. Tell Her About It, and For the Longest Time, all that stuff, I grew up on that. So I love it.
You mentioned Uptown Girl. I remember when we recorded that song, I was walking with another member of the band, and I looked at the other member of the band and I said, "That's the dumbest song he's ever written." And I turned around, he was standing right behind me, and he said, "You're right, it is the dumbest song I ever wrote."
What he heard you say? What made you say it was dumb? Just the beginning, how it's like
no, the lyrics are dumb. Or... Uptown Girl, she's living in an uptown world.
A little repetitive, you thought?
Yeah.
Shows what you know, right? The whole thing.
That's right.
Smash.
That's right.
Cool. Well, you played with Billy Joel. You have Lords of 52nd Street. Encourage everyone to go check that out. But remind us real quick some of the other, not just Billy Joel, but some of the other famous artists you play with. Meatloaf and Carly Simon, who I guess is just going to go in the Rock Hall this year. I mean, it's remind them that your career is not just Billy Joel here.
No. There was this other guy that played with a band called the Beatles, and his name was Paul McCartney, I think.
You might have heard of him.
Might have heard of him.
What song did you play with Paul?
There's a song called Beautiful Night that we recorded. It's on the latest version of Flaming Pie that came out. There's a box set, and it's in that box set. It was recorded by me, then it was recorded by Ringo. It was recorded, he did it different versions.
Right. No pressure that, it's the guy that has played with Ringo his whole life, and now Liberty DeVitto.
Now it's me. Yeah. It's
take that, Ringo.
Yeah.
You're the fifth Beatle now. But that kind of comes full circle, right? Because didn't you I read you taught yourself to play drums after when you saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan.
I did. That's how I learned, by playing the Beatle records. Yeah. Don't know how to read music. Don't know anything about music except playing drums.
Really? So if someone put sheet music in front of you, you'd just be deer in headlights.
I'm dead.
I think that's kind of cool though too. But that just speaks to your ability to just feel the music.
Well, there's a lot of guys that are like that, especially drummers. Drummers, like you just said, you feel the music. Drumming is more feel than anything else. It's not what you play; it's how you're playing it. So I mean, myself, Buddy Rich, Larry Mullen from U2, we all don't read music, Ringo.
Right. A lot of the greats, you don't need, there's more than one way to skin a cat, as I think. You can either come in from the classically trained reading music, sheet music, or you can just feel it. And so many of the greats like yourself just feel it. Well, it's worked out well for you. Real quick before we run, you mentioned, I do want to bring it back around to the benefit, but real quick, you mentioned the Little Kids Rock, and that's sort of that'll be a segue for us. But tell us about what that organization does.
Little Kids Rock was started by a man named Dave Wish. He was a school teacher in California, in one of the worst sections of California. And after school, he saw kids hanging out. So he said, he played guitar himself. So he said, look, I'll give you guitar lessons if you promise you come, all the time to the lesson. So it turned out with 20 kids, he started out with 20 kids, and now almost 750,000 kids have gone through Little Kids Rock. It puts the instruments back into the schools where the curriculum has been taken out, the music curriculum has been removed. And if a kid plays guitar, the school teachers actually learn to play, and then they teach the students. And if the kid stays for a year, he gets to keep the guitar. It's done like the same way this charity does. It's funded, with a gala and donations and stuff. It's a great thing.
And so that's based up in, I guess, New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Right. But then thanks for doing that. That's great work for all the kids up there and all the far reach that organization has. But then down here, of course, bringing it back full circle, with the Rock and Roll for Children here, John Belinke's outfit down here, reminding everyone it's going to be a big concert. Dancing, there's like an open bar, it's at the Fillmore Silver Spring. And actually we should mention, there's like a big auction every year, right? Do you know any of the items, or
I don't know any of the items, but yes, there's a big auction. Rock and Roll Foundation for Children is the largest non-corporate donor for the Children's NIH.
Ah, okay. So
Yeah,
there you go. They put their money where their mouth is, for sure.
they sure do.
Well, I just so we have it for the sake of the interview, I've just pulled up some of the auction items. We have a autographed guitar by Cream, by Prince, Tom Petty, Guns N' Roses. There's some Bob Dylan, Aretha Franklin, B.B. King, all sorts of stuff. Cyndi Lauper. Head on over to the website. It's rockandrollforchildren.org if you want to see all the different items that are up for auction. And I guess before we run, Liberty DeVitto, I'll just speak directly to our listeners of why they should come out. I pretend I'm not even here. Just talk directly to them. Hey guys, come on out. It's gonna be a good time.
Guys, come on out. It's going to be a night of fun, music, dancing, eating, and it's to benefit children who, a lot of these treatments, they're serious what these kids are going through, sometimes life-threatening, and you are helping them by having a good time. It's great. You get tickets, Fillmore, Silver Spring website. That's where you get the tickets to come. And come meet me. I'd love to meet you,
Hear some good music and having a great night, and all the while knowing in the back of your mind that it's for a really good cause. I mean, you can't beat it, can you? All right, cool. Well, Liberty DeVitto, thanks so much for joining us and doing some trips down memory lane and all these songs. I'm sure you've been asked about them a million times, so we appreciate it.
All right, Jason.
Take care, my friend.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.